Welcome, everyone, to the All 22 Deep Dive. We're going to do a little film study on the Georgia offense. Are you ready, Ian?
I'm ready.
All right. Before we get into this, as I cut you off rudely, I want you to go join Inside Texas. $1 for 1 month? Oh, my goodness. What a deal. This is a flash sale to end all flash sales. You guys need to go sign up in a flash, and we need you to like and subscribe to this channel. Ian, Georgia has a very impressive and I think in some ways daunting offense because of their multiplicity, the versatility with which they play, and they have so many interesting pieces that are complementary, but it's all tied together by a player, Gunnar Stockton, that there were plenty of doubters, but this is a quarterback who's done nothing but deliver for Georgia with his ability to see the field, his dual threat ability, and some very nice ball placement.
Yeah, this has been a very anticipated matchup for basically the last year, and especially when Sark got up on the podium in Atlanta and then stole Smart's two favorite recruits out from under him as payback for the losses in the regular season. I'm pretty excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be amazing.
Well, counting coup on the trail is great, but it's not quite as sweet as counting coup on the field. And Ian and I are going to give you some insight about how Texas might be able to do that. Let's talk about the Georgia offense. All right, here we are. It's Tennessee, first quarter, 1st and 10, 12:30 on the clock. This is early in the game. The ball's on the UGA 25, and you're going to see a Tennessee blitz from depth. They basically blitz their entire second level, trigger an auto throw outside the hashes to single coverage man-man to Colby Young. Colby Young will not be playing against Texas, but Noah Thomas will try to duplicate this. They may try to do this with Zachariah Branch. What I'm trying to illustrate, and we're trying to illustrate here, Ian, is that Gunnar Stockton really has nice ball placement on these sorts of single shot throws. And there's a larger takeaway on this, Ian, and that is Gunnar Stockton's actually more effective when you blitz him than when you just rush 4 and play coverage.
He knows what to do with the ball. I think that's going to be a recurring theme in this study, is that he can make quick decisions and they are the right ones. He's been there for, is this his 4th year at Georgia? Is that right?
Yes.
That makes a huge difference. I mean, you keep seeing this with like Ham or Ty Simpson, these guys that people write off. They're like, well, they were a blue chip, but they were a bust, never amounted to anything. And then you finally see them as 4th-year guys, and they are throwing to precise spots on the field with recognition of what's going on and beating you. So the larger point to be made there about quarterback play. Paul, the protection here also seems to be alarmingly solid.
Yeah, very good. Georgia's O-line has been really good, and they've started 2 true freshmen for large portions of the year. Oh, there's the parabola. Everyone drink. But it's a beautiful protection. But I think the key here, even if they'd been a little more porous, Stockton is just immediately going to throw the ball to a spot. And when we see the back view, you're going to get an appreciation of what a nicely thrown ball this is, even though it looks like a very Texas high school spread quarterback kind of throw, Ian. Like he's put a lot of air under it. It's not on a line. The NFL's not going to drool over this throw. But I want you to see how Gunnar Stockton releases it. And then when you see how it actually lands in the receiver's hands, you're going to be like, that's a nice ball. Well thrown in the college game. Single coverage. I know where to throw. I'm going to throw it outside the hashes to the outside of the receiver because there is late safety help coming over, and there's also outside leverage from the corner. Corner's in pure man, so he's got his back turned to the receiver, and the ball is right there. Look at that. Actually, you'd really like to see the Georgia receiver keep his feet here, but, we'll take the 45-yard gain, right?
Yeah, they'll be okay. This is the kind of thing that used to drive me insane with Orlando, and Orlando would blitz, and then the Big 12 quarterback would just take this auto one-on-one outside and throw up a 50-50 shot, and you hit 50% of them, and you're going to do a lot more damage than you're going to take.
That's right. And Gunnar Stockton, I don't know ultimately what his NFL future is. I can tell you it's not going to be first-round draft pick, even if he kills it in college.
Yeah.
But the point is, people get way too obsessed with NFL projectables for college quarterbacks sometimes, and they forget that it is a different game. The college game is different. And if you throw really catchable balls and you're smart and you're a dual threat, guys like Diego Pavia and Gunnar Stockton can win a lot of football games for you.
All right, Paul, you had just mentioned the dual threat capabilities of Gunnar Stockton. We're going to see this now against Ole Miss. 1st and 10 in the second quarter with 7:48 on the clock, knocking on the door on the Ole Miss 24-yard line. And the Rebels this is actually a really, on the whiteboard, the perfect zone read busting blitz. And Gunnar Stockton makes a good, quick decision, and then a couple of good, quick thinking cuts as a runner. And it's 6 points for Georgia.
Yeah, this is an impressive example of Gunnar Stockton's athleticism. I think a lot of people describe him as like a willing runner or a tough guy. He's actually pretty athletic. He's actually a good runner. And you're going to see here, he's going to make a guy miss. He's going to cut hard, redirect, and then he's going to cut back across the grain with showing good vision. I mean, I'd say he's a Sam Ellinger level runner at least.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty dangerous in the college game. For the year, he has over 300 yards rushing. He has 7 rushing touchdowns. And his rushing ability really becomes paramount in the red zone and just on the edge of the red zone, which is here on this 24-yard touchdown run. So when we look at the back view, you'll get an appreciation for Gunnar Stockton's decisiveness and his vision. He makes a pretty wicked cut here, but LOL here at the 2 free Ole Miss defenders. They got suckered by the fake. And Gunnar says, I'm athletic enough to keep this and punish you. And that's exactly what he's going to do here, Ian. He's going to pop it up, break a little arm across his thigh pad. That's not going to bring him down. And he's got green grass in front of him. He's going to see that people are starting to run towards him in pursuit, but he's got a good willing blocker. That Georgia guy is going to stick with this guy, shadowing him. So Gunnar's going to cut it back. And you're going to see he's got the athleticism to make this work. And he's already saying, I think I'm going to score here. Does this guy have an angle on me? No, he does not have an angle on me. I'm going to be able to erase that and run into the end zone. And that's exactly what they do. So one of the things that strikes you watching Georgia's all 22, which we were able to do against multiple opponents, Ian, is that they're incredibly versatile on offense. They can beat you whatever way is your weakness. So they can spread you out and throw it around. They can run a lot of sort of option type football with Gunnar Stockton. They can do traditional 12 personnel, run it down your throat, a lot of play action up the seam. Whatever they can stumble into or figure out over the course of the game, they're going to hit you with hard, especially in the second half. And that's when Georgia's offense really has put the hurt on people this year.
Yeah, their best players are generally not even the skill guys. It's the infrastructure setup pieces. It's like the decision-making and versatility at quarterback. It's the offensive line. And it's the fact that they always have all these good tight ends. So then they just end up moving around pieces until they're hammering your weak spot with whatever skill players they have. And the skill players, maybe not always that great, but if they're always working against the worst part of your defense, then they're going to look pretty solid. Yeah.
It's well said. And I think Zachariah Branch is their number 1 receiver, clearly, in terms of both catches and targets. Beyond him, it's a completely distributed workload. And so they go 1 week, their 2 tight ends will have 1 catch combined for 6 yards. The next week, they'll combine for 11 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That killed you. So Georgia just goes where the water flows. And that's really the best way to run an offense when you've got all that sort of versatility. Mike Bobo's doing a hell of a job.
That's what Sark was saying. The problem is he just doesn't have these actual pieces that he wishes he had.
All right, we foreshadowed the use of their tight ends. Notice this is Lawson Luckley split out. And Georgia is just going to run pure RPO game here inside the 10, goal to go. Again, 1st and 10. They're going to run the ball. They're going to throw this RPO. And Lucky actually doesn't have an advantage here. The inside guy, the nickel here, has inside leverage. Lucky's 6'4", 240, and he runs well. So what is he going to do, Ian? He's just going to cover the guy up, edge him out with his body, and Stockton's going to throw a nice catchable ball. They don't have anyone else in the middle of the field to challenge or contest this. Easy touchdown for Georgia. What do you see here?
One of the interesting quirks of this is that they've got wide receiver London Humphrey, number 16 on the bottom, running like a lead block. It's like some kind of duo type scheme. And then the tight end out wide. So they're like playing around with the matchups a lot. Like you would probably put, I don't know the exact Ole Miss personnel on this play, but that's pretty confusing when you're trying to decide who to put on the side where they're obviously trying to hammer you, even though it's a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then who do you put out wide where they're trying to finesse you when it's like a big tight end? That's inherently tricky to match up against. And then they have an RPO where they can just choose to make you wrong for whichever one you chose. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, you'll notice that Ole Miss has edge off the second line and then DB personnel. There's 6 guys, or 5 guys, I should say, in that area concerned about London Humphrey, concerned about this RPO run. And you'll see at the top of the screen, which is actually the wide side of the field, Georgia's got single coverage. 2 guys are in single coverage. And so what's Gunnar Stockton going to do as a good college quarterback? He's going to throw it to the guy closest to him that he trusts with good hands, 6'4", 240. He's going to screen off the smaller guy. This is just easy. This is candy from a baby. And this is the kind of stuff where by little subtle alignment things that Georgia does, that Bobo's scheming up, you can't just get caught fixated on, oh my God, this guy's lined up in a weird way. What are we going to do? I think if Ole Miss could do this over again, they'd line up very differently. Hey, folks, you need to get a mortgage. Or if you've got an existing mortgage that's 6.5% or higher, you need to get a different mortgage that's a little more friendly. Get those monthly payments down. Let's get that house paid off even more quickly. You got to call Gabe Winslow. 832-557-1095. Why, Gabe? Well, I could tell you he's a former National Merit Scholar. I could tell you he's a proud UT grad. I could tell you that he's got a law degree from a top 20 university. I could tell you that he's one of the top originators in the state of Texas, which he is. How about this? Big banks suck. Go with a broker. Gabe is going to go and shop your deal to 60 different wholesale lenders, and then he's going to pick and structure the best deal for you. It's not carbon copy, off the press, one size fits all. It's going to be suited to you and your unique financial needs. Give Gabe a call. If he's not your first call, make darn sure it's your last call. 832-557-1095.
We got more tight ends doing mean tight end things here, Paul. This is against Mississippi State in the second quarter, 1st and 10 with 9:41. And we're on the Georgia 31. And we're about to be a lot further down the field after this play action connection to Oscar Delp, I believe, right?
Yep, that's Oscar Delp.
Up the seam on this defense. They're in like a too high coverage. You would think you got a safety over the top of either inside receiver. We should be okay. And with great skill, Delp crosses the safety's face and gets into the middle of the field and gets hit with a very catchable throw that turns into a, 20, 30, 40-yard gain down the field.
Yeah, this is just another example, and you'll really see it from the back side, the back view. Gunnar Stockton throws the catchable ball and the nicely placed ball over the, I'm going to hum this up the seam on a line. The other thing it highlights is if you have your back turned as a defender, Gunnar Stockton will throw the ball right at your back and count on his receiver to make the play. Technically, this isn't terrible coverage here, Ian, but he's beaten because the tight end has a step, and most crucially, he's between the hashes. And here's an interesting statistic about Gunnar Stockton, which may have echoes if you guys recall what I told you about Diego Pavia before our preview for Vandy. On the season, Gunnar Stockton is 106 of 121 between the hashes, from behind the line of scrimmage all the way out to 20 yards. And that's exactly this kind of throw. It's the throw right in front of his face. It doesn't require a huge arm. It just requires touch and recognition and a willing receiver who can catch it. So that's an 86% completion rate. He's got 9 touchdowns and 1 pick throwing between the hashes. Texas needs to get a heat map and realize that you can't allow him to throw the ball in his little comfort zone between the hashes.
The more we watch, the more he reminds me of Stetson Bennett, only just even bigger and stronger.
Yep.
They've done a great job of identifying winning dual threats and not getting fixated on NFL traits.
Speaking of NFL traits, Oscar Delp has got him.
Yeah, they have him elsewhere.
So Delp was actually lined up inside of Lucky. They went double tight on the right. Lawson Lucky's, you're going to see him release up the sideline, and he gets out there quickly, which is important for this play, right? He's got to capture eyes and coverage, especially from that cover 2 look. And then you're going to see Delp get the immediate jump lined up inside up the seam. So it's, again, playing with these 2 tight ends, playing with formations. Again, I got to praise Bobo. I like the construction of this play. I like the idea of it. Obviously, the personnel allow this to also happen. But I just think it's good offense from Georgia. And I think it shows the multiplicity of the way that they can attack you.
They got him on linebacker also with that switch. That was very helpful for them on this play. And producer is pointing out they also have the crosser, which may have come open if the receiver hadn't given up on his route because he saw the ball had already been thrown.
Yeah, this is good offensive football from Georgia and 12 personnel. And this is the dream, the aspirational dream that Sark has for his 12 personnel, but the personnel ain't there. So we'll have to keep building and dreaming. All right, here's the Georgia Bulldogs from a traditional spread formation right at the red zone on the Mississippi State 19, 2nd and 10, 17 seconds on the clock, Ian. They just ran a really effective 2-minute drill to get down here, and they're going to get a gimme touchdown to Zachariah Branch, really through scheme and alignment and the athleticism of their offensive line and their tight end as lead blockers. Zachariah Branch is actually going to catch this. He was a late motion coming over here. He's just going to turn, present himself to Stockton, and then he is going to sprint straight up behind these 2 blocks. Big pancake block from his offensive tackle, and then a really nice block from Oscar Delp at the point of attack. Watch this pancake at the top of the screen as we go through, and you'll see this guy get launched back about 8-9 yards, the defender. Wow. Zachariah Branch is just going to stroll in. I think this highlights a few things. One, Bobo's versatility in play construction, right? Just beating someone by alignment and scheme. 2, Zachariah Branch, pretty nifty with the ball in his hands. 3, Georgia's offensive line is very athletic. And, of course, their tight ends are very athletic. So when you can get them in space as lead blockers on an outnumbered or even numbered defense, you're in trouble.
Are you allowed to just throw it to fast people on the perimeter and let them make plays?
We've already done that, Ian. You're being sarcastic and snarky.
Well, we figured it out, but Sark noted it took much of the season to develop to get to the point where we could throw a short lateral pass to a fast guy and let him make plays. But they're there now too. This is a very Texas-ish design, really. Yeah, you would see this from Sark. Sark has, I don't know if he has this exact version, but he has a lot of similar plays in his playbook. You notice that Stockton has a guy running in his face, and he still hits this on time to Branch. I do wonder for Texas if they can just line up, play sound football, and take away some of the easy advantages from Georgia's formational wonkery and motion. If Georgia can still out-execute them up and down the field, if Texas just makes them play good football instead of being able to scheme edges.
I love that idea, Ian, because there's 2 points of friction here if this was Texas instead of Mississippi State. One, that defensive end is unblocked purposely. They want to get him up the field to create the space for the throw. But if that's Colin Simmons or Ethan Burke, he might get on you a little faster than you think, and they might tip the ball, right? They might get their big paws up in the air and tip that up. The second part is the safety in the middle of the field who's lined up right next to the official. I guess he's trying to hide inside the referee. That would probably be Michael Taff or Jelani McDonald. The minute Michael Taff would see that motion, he's already firing. he's not standing and watching saying, what's happening here? Michael Taft or Jelani McDonald would say this is a screen well before Zachariah Branch has even turned around and presented himself. So this might end up being a 3-yard gain rather than this easy sail right up the field for Zachariah Branch right at the end of a 2-minute drill.
Also, Taft has been watching Georgia film for a month.
Yes. Yes.
And so has Sark's been, I think Sark's been gearing up for this game since like the week after the SEC championship. So
yeah, so the scheme here is good. The execution is good. We wanted to show this to highlight Georgia's overall athleticism and their ability to attack the perimeter, but also understand that we're going to offer a little bit more upgraded personnel than Mississippi State.
All right, Paul, this next one is against Mississippi State again. Mississippi State really took it from Georgia in this game. It's the third quarter, 2nd and 7, 13:02 on the clock. This is like their first drive after the half. And Nate Frazier, the running back, is going to score on this play. Just run. I don't know if he's even touched. Maybe he's like grazed. Oh, almost got tripped there. Gets sprung into open field, runs away from the safety. A score for Georgia on a very long run. And we're going to get into the end zone cam, and you're going to see how Georgia blocked this up. This is maybe what I find the most alarming about this Georgia offense, Paul, is their run game is a little more varied, and they're very, very good at it, and their running backs are more mature than they were a year ago. And then they have the dual threat quarterback to boost it a little bit too. So if Texas plays a team that can run on them like Florida did, then I just really start to worry about whether the defense holds up.
Yeah, schematically, I love what they're doing here. They're going to pull the backside guard and the play side tackle. So a lot of movement in the line. And Georgia, they're athletic enough on the line of scrimmage that they'll play in spread formations and run the ball downhill from shotgun. They'll run gap schemes. They'll have pullers. They've only got a tight end on the strong side here, and they're more than comfortable handing the ball off downhill and counting on the athleticism of their offensive line and the explosiveness and recognition of their backs. Their backs are clearly instructed, take a lateral step and you better get downhill fast. And that's exactly what Nate Frazier does here. Really nice job of coordinating the blocks. He's going to cut hard inside. That's good. That's a good running back here. You've got a nice seal from 57. Delp does a nice job out on the perimeter, picking up a linebacker. And Frazier is going to see green grass. He's going to plant, no nonsense, and he's gone. It's just really well blocked, and it's very physical. It's usually when you run the ball from sort of a spread formation, you're trying to outnumber people or catch them. Georgia's like, hey, we'll just physically overpower you at the point of attack and still run the ball downhill. It doesn't matter the formation.
They do have the backside quarterback keep option on 27. So I think you're absolutely right, but they do get a bit of a numbers advantage at the point of attack by leaving him there to be read and pulling. And then the other thing is that schematically, Georgia's known for just being able to line up like Tom Herman always wanted and just run inside zone or duo downhill at you behind double teams and just maul you that way. And so when teams play Georgia, they're like, okay, we got to pack bodies in the interior gaps. We got to make sure that there's too much mass there for them to just plow ahead through the A gaps. But then they have these schemes where they just say, okay, well, we'll just plow over you on the perimeter and pull guys there instead. And that extra dimension in the way it gives them answers for fronts trying to pack the interior is not good for their opponents, Paul.
It's not. And look, Texas fans, I'll caution you now. If they have any success running between the tackles, Gunnar Stockton's going to pull it and have a touchdown in the red zone, or he's going to have a 30, 35-yard run. And you just got to tackle him and live for the next play because it's kind of built into the offense. And eventually they're varied and multiple enough that they just give you so much to think about that it's really hard to play linebacker and edge against them without the advantage of down and distance. Get Georgia into 3rd and 11 and they become a different animal. But they do a very good job of always they're just perpetually in 2nd and 3 and 1st and 10 One of the things about these clips that we wanted to mention, except for those last two, a lot of these plays are 1st and 10. And the reason I emphasize that is because they trust Gunnar Stockton completely and totally. They'll run anything on 1st and 10. It's not let's run the ball and try to get ahead of the chains and let's run a little play action to our tight end. No, they'll run anything on 1st and 10. And that's how they create a lot of their advantages because you're kind of in a neutral defense. You're not really biased towards anything. And conversely, 3rd and 7, they'll hand the ball off if they see numbers. They're very confident in their ability to block, and they love their runners. Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier have both come into their own, and they're a significant upgrade over what Georgia had last year in terms of their running backs. All right, Ian, so we've presented a picture of what is ranked as the number 2 efficiency offense in the country. That's Georgia. I think that's surprising to people, but this Georgia offense has carried their team. Their defense has gotten hit and lit up a couple of times this year, and it's the Georgia offense that has won the day, particularly against Tennessee and Ole Miss. So, Ian, how do we match up with this offense? We tried to show you their variation, all their schematic variability. How does Texas match up, and how do we limit this offense?
I think the blueprint is pretty clear, which is that the one big explosive play outside the hash marks that you showed was to Colby Young, who's not even playing in this game. Stockton does a lot of his best work between the tackles, and they have so many ways to burn you between the tackles. I think for Texas, you load up the middle of the field, you trust your cornerbacks on islands outside, and you hope that just the diminishing returns Georgia will face from, bigger, stronger defensive line, couple impact plays from the edges, and then Taff and McDonald absolutely sitting on everything in the middle, that you just end up like knocking them down from their scoring in the 30s to scoring, I don't know, what's realistic, high teens or 20s?
We're hoping to hold them in the low 20s, I think.
I think that you can win in that scenario potentially. And I think that's a reasonable goal for this defense.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm going to offer something that isn't always exciting as a game plan, but I did point out Gunnar Stockton is better against the blitz than when not blitzed.
Yeah.
I think a key to this defensive game plan is defense in depth. I really want to get after Gunnar Stockton with 4, maybe 5, but maybe that 5th guy is a spy and maybe in a little bit of a shallow zone. And then I want defense in depth. I want Taff and McDonald back with their feet inside the hashes, or maybe, their inside foot on the hash, and just looking and seeing things develop and then going and attacking the football. Same thing with Anthony Hill. Same thing with Anthony Smith, LaFau. I think that really would help us. And I think it's tempting to give Georgia a bunch of different looks on offense. I want to save our looks for our offense. I want us to do a lot of interesting, varied stuff on offense. But our defense, I think we just need to be sound. And I think we need to be trust in our front 4 that they can get it done on most downs. I really think that's the game plan on 80% of downs. And then you can have some mix-ups and some intro some different stuff when we get them into 3rd and 7.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if this is the one game where PK throws like the kitchen sink at an opponent and they just get torched and we pull our hair out?
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think this is a blitz Georgia into oblivion game plan.
Yeah.
And I don't think PK will see it that way. He never sees it that way. So I'm pretty safe in that regard. But I think both the structure of Georgia's offense, their offensive line, and Gunnar Stockton's headiness and ability to win with his feet, I think makes blitzing him kind of a dicey proposition. Are you a little concerned about our corners out in space in one-on-one matchups? Or do you see anything encouraging maybe from Cade Phillips that we're going to see more of him in this game? How would you structure this?
I'm not too worried about them in coverage. I think Gilbo has actually been pretty good this year at keeping people in front of him and tackling. So I feel fine about Gilbo. Muhammad honestly been pretty good at that too. I'm not that worried about that in this game. Maybe like on the goal line if they get one of their tight ends matched up one-on-one and throw a slant. I don't know how many guys on this team can hold up against that. McDonald, maybe the entire list. But if they can torch Texas's corners in this game, then I don't think it's like, well, okay, what, you're just drawing dead anyway. So
yeah, I think that's fair. Another thing to look at is because Georgia is so formationally diverse, a big hallmark of their team is they've been a second half team, not only on defense, but also offense. So what they do is they try to find that combination that puts you in sort of risk and exposes something that you don't want to show. And then they hammer it in the second half. And so that's why Georgia's been such a good second half team this year. Something to look for in this game. We don't want to fall behind early because Georgia has shown a good ability to finish and really be a second half team. So I think we want to try to get a lead or just trade body blows and then see who wants to win it in the fourth quarter.
I'm not going to feel good about this game if Texas doesn't have a lead after the opening script.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Ian, thanks so much for your analysis. And thank all of you for joining. You need to be subscribing to this channel. You need to like this, and we will definitely want to hear from you in the comments. What did you like about what we showed you about Georgia's offense? What do you think are some of the keys for our defense? And then, of course, we want to see you at Inside Texas. That's the best Texas conversation on the internet. For Ian Boyd, I'm Paul Bodlington saying